Hi, welcome back to another one chart lesson. Today we are going to learn in just a few minutes how to figure out how to place your capo anywhere on your guitar to decipher the chords of any song, any key, anywhere, anyhow. Sound easy? It really is. It's not rocket science. You just need to have a couple of bits of knowledge and to follow a simple formula that I've worked out and put on your free downloadable chart, which will give you all the steps you need to learn how to do this. And the more you do it, the faster you'll get at it, and it'll just become quite instinctive after a while. So to get started, we need to understand two things. One is how to find the notes up and down your E string, bottom E string, and your A string. Now, the easiest way to learn the notes off by heart on these two strings is to do this simple little exercise. Just do it once every time you pick up the guitar for the next week, and you will have this knowledge forever. And it's fundamental knowledge that every guitarist should have. Start with your open E string and say the notes out loud as you play them, because otherwise, if you don't do that, you are just kind of reciting a pattern here. So we're going to skip over all the accidentals, which are the sharps and flats, and just play the natural notes, which are all the notes that are white on a piano keyboard. So we start on the open E string and we go E, F, G on the 3rd, A on the 5th, B on the 7th, C on the 8th, D on the 10th. When we get to the 12th fret, it's E again. So that pattern just repeats again after the 12th fret. So instead of going further, we stop at the 12th fret and go backwards and keep saying out these note names out loud. D, C, B, A, G, F, E. It takes less than a minute, and if you do that every time you pick up the guitar for the next week, you'll have it down. Do the same with the A string. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Turn around and come back again. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Do it on the other strings if you want as well, but the most useful knowledge we can have for this particular exercise is just on those E and A strings. On the D string, it's kind of helpful as well, but E and A to start with. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to know. Second thing we need to know is the root notes of our chords. Now, whether or not you know about root notes yet, it's a very, very simple concept. A root note is the bass note for any given chord, which has the same name as the chord. So whether it's a major, minor, minor 7, major 7, 7, they're all based on the same root note. So if you look at an E chord, your bottom note is that open E string. That's your root note. Whether it's an E minor, same root note. E7, same root note. And so on. You get the idea. So we look at the caged chords for this particular formula I'm going to give you. And we see that the C has its root note on the A string 3rd fret. The A has its root note on the open A string. G, root note on the E string 3rd fret, E, root note open E string, and D, root note on the open D string. So you'll see here that all our root notes are either on the open strings or the 3rd fret. We use that knowledge to figure out where to place our capos. So you know your root notes and you know how to find the notes up and down the E and the A strings. Now we're going to figure out how to put capos on our guitars in order to decipher any song in any key to give us easy open chords. So what we're doing is we're figuring out the chords of our song, first of all, because if you don't know the chords of the song, what are you doing? So whether you've got them online or off a chart or whatever, you write down the chords of your song. And let's say they are E, B, and A. And you think, well, I don't want to play a B chord because I only want to do open chord shapes. You find the root note of your first chord. So if it's E, you find the root note of E. Okay, so it's on the open E string. We can't really put a capo anywhere down there. So your next E is up here on the 7th fret of the A string. Okay, so that's the first thing we do. We find the root note of the first chord of the song. Step one. Then you take your capo, and it doesn't matter what capos you use. There's these kinds of capos. There are, you know, swanky, squeezy capos. There's screw-on capos. There's capos with straps. It doesn't matter what capo you use. They all do the same job. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the capo in one of three positions, and one of these three positions is always going to work for you, unless you've got a weird jazz song or some chromatic chords that are close together. 99% of the time, one of these three positions for your capo will work in deciphering your song into easy open chords. So the first position we try is on the same fret as our first root note. So if our first chord in this song is E, our root note for E is on the 7th fret of the A string. So that's where our capo goes, 7th fret. And now we figure out the chords for the rest of the song to see if they all fit into easy shapes. This is where we can either look at root notes and figure them out quickly like this. You think, okay, well, the E is my first chord, so I want that to be my root note, but now with a capo on, that looks like an open A string. So therefore I'm playing an A chord, right? And that looks like an A, but it sounds like an E. Our second chord of the song would be a B. Here's our B on the 7th fret of the E string. So it looks like an open E string with the capo on now, so we play an E chord. Looks like an E, sounds like a B. So far so good. Third chord, A. We're going to look at our A and see that it's down here below the fret, which means that it's also on the D string, 7th fret. So that open D string is actually an A note, which tells us we can play a D chord. There's also a mathematical way you can approach that, counting the number of frets you've added by putting your capo on, which in this case is 7. Step back 7 frets from whatever chord you're playing. And that is, you know, if you're playing an E, you want to step back 7 frets and go from the 7th fret A string. From the 7th fret A string you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that tells you you're on an A, so play an A chord. For the B chord, B is on the 7th fret here of the E string, count back 7 frets, you're on the open E string, therefore you play an E chord. So there's two different ways you can do it. I sort of prefer the visual root note way because you get to be very quick at it, and if you're using the mathematical formula, then you're always counting and subtracting numbers, and even though you can do it that way, I think it's faster to use the root note method. Okay, so that's Ocean Man deciphered using capo on the 1st fret of our root note. Let's try another chord. Let's try another song. One of my favorites is Rodeo Clowns, which is C sharp minor, F sharp, A, and G sharp 7. So if you don't do bar chords, you really don't want to play that song. Let's go with our capo on the same fret as the first root note technique. C sharp, which is our first chord, C sharp minor. There it is on the 4th fret. Put our capo on the 4th fret, same thing. Now, our C sharp minor can be played as a simple A minor chord because our open A string for this chord is now capoed on the 4th fret, so it's actually a C sharp. So there's your C sharp minor. The next chord was an F sharp. So you go down to your F sharp and you think, okay, well that's 2 frets below what looks like my open E string now. And you know that that's a D because E counted back 2 frets is a D. So play a D chord for that, and that gives you your F sharp chord. Next chord, A. Here's your A root note, but with a capo on, it looks like the 1st fret E string, which is an F. So you play an F chord there. And the last chord, G sharp 7, suddenly becomes really easy because our G sharp now here is capoed and it looks like an open E string. So you play an open E chord, but you make it a 7, an E7 shape because it's a G sharp 7 chord that we're after. Okay, so we've got A minor, D, F, E7, which is actually C sharp minor, F sharp, A, G sharp 7. Sweeping the floors, open up the doors, yeah, turn on the lights, getting ready for the night. Nobody's romancing cause it's too early for dancing, but here comes the music. So that's our technique by putting the capo on the same fret as our first root note. If that doesn't work and there's a chord in there that doesn't fit into the open chord shapes, then we use our second technique, which is to go 3 frets down from your root note of the first chord. So if we look at something that's quite well known, so like Shotgun by George Ezra, our chords are F, B flat, D minor, and C. So our first chord is F. Find that root note. You can't go 3 frets down from that, so you go up to the higher F, which is on the 8th fret of the A string. Put your capo 3 frets down from that fret, so put it on the 5th fret, and now let's decipher our chords. So our F, which is now looking like it's on the 3rd fret of the A string, but we know that's an F because without the capo it's on the 8th fret of the A string, but here it looks like it's on the 3rd fret with the capo. So that's the root note for a C chord. Homegrown alligator. The next chord we're after is a B flat. Now a B flat, without the capo you can see it's on the 6th fret of the E string. With the capo, that's the 1st fret of the E string, which is the root note for an F. So the 1st fret of the E string is the same as the 3rd fret of the D string. They're both Fs, by the way. So you've got C, homegrown alligator, F, see you later. The 3rd chord, which is a D minor. Here's your D minor on the 5th fret of the A string. With the capo on, it looks like an open A string. Easy. Play an A chord. And make it an A minor because we want a D minor chord. And then the last chord is a C. There's your C root note. But now it looks like with the capo, it's on the 3rd fret of the E string, which is the root note for a G chord. So you've got homegrown alligator, see you later, gotta hit the road, gotta hit the road. Okay, another example would be the Jason Mraz song, I'm Yours. And the chords for that song would be B, F sharp, G sharp minor, and E. Use our technique, go 3 frets down from the first root note. Your first root note is your B. Can't go 3 frets down from the 2nd fret there, so take it up to the B here on the E string. Go 3 frets down, put it on the 4th fret. So same fret as before. Now, our B is here as a G chord because that's our root note. That's our root note that we want to be a B. Then your F sharp, again, like before, it's 2 frets down below this open E string. That's your F sharp, which is also on your open D string here with the capo on. So there's your F sharp there. Your G sharp minor, here's your G sharp on the 4th fret of the E string, but the capo's on it, so it's an open E string now. So it's an E minor chord because we want it to be a G sharp minor. And then the last one, which was an E, you find your E root note up here on the 7th fret of the A string, but with the capo it looks like the 3rd fret, which is the root note for a C. So you've got I felt it, tried to be cool, but it's so hot that I melted. I fell right through the cracks. Now I'm trying to get back. If for whatever reason putting your capo on the same fret as the first root note or 3 frets down from the first root note doesn't resolve your chords into open shapes, you have one more option, and that is to go 5 frets down from your first root note. So it's very simple to remember. You take the capo and put it on the same fret as your first root note of the song and then decipher the chords. If that doesn't work, you take your capo and you put it 3 frets down from your first root note. Try and decipher the chords. If that doesn't work, and by the way, that technique, going 3 frets down, will not work when your first chord is a minor chord. And the reason for that is that your first chord, when your capo is 3 frets down and your first chord is this C, it's not easy to play a C minor shape as an open chord. So minor chords won't really work, and it's not easy to play a G minor shape either. So 3 frets down from your first root note only works for major chords as your first chord of the song. So the third technique is to go 5 frets down from your first root note. And that will resolve your chords if the other 2 steps haven't. So let's take an example of that. Mad World by Tears for Fears. F sharp minor, all around me are for A, million faces, E, worn out places, B, worn out faces. Right, okay. Go 5 frets down from your first root note. Your first root note is that F sharp. Again, not enough room below it, so you come up to this F sharp here on the 9th fret. And you go 5 frets down from that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By the way, when you're counting down from your first root note, do not count your first root note. The first step you take is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So our capo is on the 4th fret. Now, our F sharp minor chord, as we know before, is 2 frets down from that open E string, or what looks like an open E string now. 2 frets down here, there's your F sharp. So we want to play that D. But because it's a minor chord now, we're playing a D minor. All around me are four. Your next chord is an A. There's your A on the 5th fret of the E string. It looks like, with the capo, the 1st fret, which is an F. Familiar faces. Then your E chord is your E on the 7th fret of the A string. With the capo, it looks like the 3rd fret of the A string, which is a C. Worn out places. Last chord is a B. There's your B right there on the 7th fret of the E string, so it looks like a G root note for a G chord. Worn out faces, riding early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. That works a treat for that song. 5 frets down from your first root note. One more example, just to show you how this works. If we look at Colours by the Black Pumas. F sharp minor, first chord. A. E, 3rd chord. C sharp for your last chord. So, again, go 5 frets down from your F sharp. So that puts us back on that 4th fret again. Now the first 3 chords are the same as the last song. So you've got D minor, F, C. But now for our C sharp chord, we want to play, where's our C sharp? Our C sharp is here on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th fret up on our E string, which is actually our open A string with the capo on. So there's our C sharp. Sorry, I should have just gone there first. There's our C sharp on the A string, 4th fret. When the capo's on, that's an open A string. So you do an open A chord. That's your C sharp. Right? All my favorite colors. Sorry about the singing there. Can't quite remember the words to that. But you get the idea. 3 things to remember. Once you know your root notes and your chords to the song, capo on the same fret as the first root note. If that doesn't work, capo 3 frets down from your first root note. If that doesn't work, capo 5 frets down from your first root note. That will work. Guaranteed. 99% of the time, guaranteed. So I hope you found that interesting. Let me know if you come across any examples of songs where that doesn't work. I'm always keen to hear from people and to see if it was effective for you and to see if it's helpful. You should now be able to figure out where to put your capo on your guitar for any song, any key, in order to make it nice and easy to play with easy open chord shapes. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.